DDO. Everybody, shout it out to the top of your lungs. If you missed open enrollment last year, you can still get affordable health insurance through Obamacare. The enrollment season is open again now through May 15th. Your local licensed agent, Dallas Anderson, is waiting to assist you and your family. Call her now at 478-235-2355. Don't put off for tomorrow what you can do today. Call your new agent, 478-235-2355. Her name is Dallas Anderson. WDDO is connecting you with your community news. We want to broadcast your community news weekly at WDDO. Please mail in all community news to WDDO, P.O. Box 5536, Macon, Georgia 31213. Attention community news. Correspondence must be mailed at least 2 weeks prior to the event. Community news will be heard every Monday and Friday morning at 10:15 a.m. Mail your community news into WDDO, P.O. Box 5536, Macon, Georgia 31213. Attention community news. WDDO, Glover Memorial Mortuary, located at 3241 Houston Avenue in South Macon, serving you and those you love with a personal touch is their motto for service. Sympathy, understanding, compassion, patience, and discounts available to lighten your financial burden. Dr. Walter Glover and staff are here to serve you and your family with a personal touch. They specialize in pre-need arrangements and cremation services with discounts given to every family with or without adequate insurance. Glover Memorial Mortuary, serving Macon and Middle Georgia since 1993.
We've been practicing law a long time. We may be a little short on catchphrases and catchy telephone numbers, but we sure have helped a lot of people. If you got a legal problem, call us. We may be able to help you.
Pushing towards the mark, I'm pressing for the prize. I can give up now, because I've come to realize that these problems that I'm facing are just tests to win the race. I know that God will get me through. These obstacles of life, just trying to get ahead. I keep my goals in front of me, the plans you set ahead. I admit it gets hard sometimes, and I want to just give up. God will get me through, yeah. For God knows all the plans, and He will guide us through them. Plans not to harm you, but to prosper and to help you. Give us hope for the future. We're gonna win. Just keep on saying to yourself that God will get me through this. That God will get me through this. God will get me through, yes. God, He will get me through. Sing it with me now. Will get me, yes He will. God, He will get me through it. Yes, He will. I tried it. Will gonna get you through. You can't tell me no different, my brother, 'cause I know, and I've tried it. I know He will. Yes, He will get me through every time, in every way. Will get me through. I remember Job. He went through it, yes he did. Lost everything. I know it, he did it.
Connecting the community through gospel, the new 980 AM, WDDO, Perry, Macon.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily the views of the Glory 980 AM, the Glory Media Group, LLC, WDDO AM, its staff, management, or advertisers, but are the views and opinions of the participants of the broadcast.
It is now time for the live broadcast of the NAACP with Gwenette, Westbrooks, and Mr. Dumas.
Welcome and good evening to you. I'm Willie Dumas, your host, and I'm the host of the NAACP Truth Show. And we welcome you here today for a very good show. It's very sunny outside, and so it's a beautiful day as you take your drive, or you're just sitting home listening or catching us on Facebook. We welcome you for a great show today. We'll have a lot of things going on across the country. We're going to have a caller that's going to call in to our show today and discuss some very interesting information as it relates to kids going back to school and bullying. Bullying, even though a lot of our kids are doing virtual learning, there's a such thing as cyberbullying. So we'll be touching on that as well. And so we want you to tune in and call in if you have some questions, of course. And we'd love to address those as you call in and let us know what those are. President Westbrooks will be joining us later by Skype, and she's been a little under the weather. So she'll be joining us by Skype. And so we look forward to that. The trial of the George Floyd trial, or the trial of Derek Chauvin, is on its way. And I believe witnesses have already been called, and that trial has gotten started. And so a lot of talk going around as it relates to what's taking place in that regard. And so a lot of interesting things happening. On last week, we noticed that a bill was signed by the governor as it relates to the voter suppression we've been speaking about. And so a lot of things happening in Georgia, and we're going to be talking about a lot of those things as well. Our special guest today that will be joining us is Miss Lynette Lindsay, and she's from the Middle Georgia area, from Twiggs County, by way of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where she now resides. And she's going to be speaking about the effects of bullying. She was bullied, and she is telling us about the effects of that. She's going to share her story with us. And so very shortly, she'll be joining us as well. Also, a lot of you have probably received some text messages regarding, hold on just a moment. I think I have a caller coming in. I do have a caller coming in. Are you there? Okay, if you would call me on the 478-250-1444 number, and then we'll pull you in. That's 478-250-1444. Okay, dial that number again, and it should I should be able to pull you in. Thank you. And so she'll be joining us in just a moment, and we'll be discussing our kids going back to school and some of the things they face when they go back. One of those things being bullying. Most of us, as we've grown up, we know that bullying can affect us in some very negative ways. And so that's something that a lot of our children face. Even some of the things like suicide that people actually do. And so we're very anxious to hear on that particular subject and some of the things that can occur when it comes to bullying. Also, later in the show, President Westbrook is going to join us, and she'll be talking about the bills that were passed, and also some of the other text messages that have gone out across the social media networks about a possible boycott. Going to talk about who supports that and who doesn't support it and why. A lot of this, of course, has to do with the signing of the voter suppression bill that the governor signed. And of course, there's a lot of buzz about that simply because it takes away a lot of the rights that we once possessed as it relates to voting, and they've changed that in a very bad way. And so along Fair Fight, which is headed by Stacey Abrams in her group, they have actually tweeted us to not boycott because they feel that it would be more detrimental to the workers more so than the employers. And so a lot of discussion about that in particular. I think my caller may have been calling in. Let me see. Caller, are you there? Are you there, caller? Okay, we may be having some technical difficulty getting them on. I may just have to pull them on from my phone. Let's see if I can do that. Let's see here. That's the thing with technology. Sometimes we get, it doesn't always work the way it's supposed to. But when it does work the way it should, we applaud that for certain. Let me see if I can dial. Okay. I see another call coming through, but I'm not able to pick it up. Let me see if I can dial out. Caller, are you there? Caller, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, now we finally got you. I can barely hear you, though. Let's see if we can turn up the volume.
Oh, you can't hear me?
I can hear you a little bit. It's probably we have to turn up on our end. Our technician is getting that done.
Okay, because I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. Okay, well, go ahead, Miss Lindsay, if you would, and kind of introduce yourself to our audience and talk to them about the effects of bullying and what you've experienced from having been bullied.
Okay. Hello, my name is Gwenette Lindsay, and I'm a native of Jeffersonville, Georgia. I attended Jeffersonville Elementary School, Tweaks County High, just for 8 years because I didn't look, I was bullied. I was bullied while I was in school there. And once I got to Twiggs County, it got worse. So my parents decided to send me to Philadelphia to be raised by my oldest brother and his wife. And it went from there where I was treated, I was treated like I was a human being, but I was treated totally different in Jeffersonville at the school because of how I looked.
Wow.
And I'm reaching out because there's so many children out there being bullied in school, and there's nobody to listen to them. And I don't want them to be, to lose their lives or do something drastic where they can't live their lives. So I'm just reaching out because I feel like once you let others know what you've been through, you will be able to help someone else. I'm a true believer that if you haven't experienced it, you can't speak on it.
Absolutely.
I feel like I can reach others with my story because by me being bullied at a young age, I even was into a marriage, a very abusive marriage where I almost lost my life.
Wow.
So it basically goes from one area to another.
So you mentioned earlier in your story about the fact that bullying kind of led to an abusive relationship. So kind of expound on that a little bit.
What I mean by that is I was, by me going through that, being bullied at school, I was, once I got old enough and I got married and everything, I thought just the way I was bullied, I didn't know that when you get married that, oh, it should be love. I didn't know anything about love as in that type of love. You know, I was told that I was loved, but apparently I wasn't. The love was being beaten on. You know, almost lost my life, you know, and my son's life, but I got out of it once it started going towards my son because I had to protect him, even though I didn't have anyone to protect me.
Wow. So what are some of the signs that a parent can look for when their child is being affected by, you know, being bullied either and in school or by way of social media?
The signs they need, the child basically will be mad all the time, crying all the time, and you ask what's wrong. And I remember my mom would ask me, what's wrong with you? Why you don't want to go to school? And I was acting out. Every time it came down to go to school. I would go hide just to miss the bus and stuff. Didn't know how to explain it. I was teased about my parents because I was the last of 10 children. I was teased about my parents. My parents were called my grandparents. And as a child, I didn't want to hurt my mom and dad more than anything. I didn't want to hurt them, as in let them know that they've been belittled by people, you know, kids that don't even know them and they barely know me. All they know is that I go to school there, and it was just a lot. And, you know, I would basically just cry. You know, I didn't know how to explain it. And I just say, look at how they react, how they act out. If they act out angrily, you know something is going on. If every time you turn around, they just sitting there just being quiet and stuff, something is going on because they don't know how to approach it. I didn't know how to approach it.
What about appearance? It's been said a lot of times that kids that are being bullied, they may change their hair or their clothing. Have you experienced that?
Yes, I've experienced that. I would basically cut all my hair off.
Wow.
I would cut all my hair off, and I would wear baggy clothes, even though I was, you know, a little heavy girl, but I would wear just old clothes. I would wear old clothes instead of trying to wear something that looked nice on me. But I had been bullied so much, I just didn't care no more. I just didn't care no more. I stayed back in school. I stayed back in school for 3 years straight.
Wow.
And because I wasn't focusing, when your child, you have to notice your child is not focusing. They can't get their mind right to comprehend what the teacher is telling them, and they get where that they just don't care, because every time they get a paper, it's a 0 or 60 or something, like nothing passing. So you look at their grades and everything, and that's a sign there. They could be dressing in black. They can change their whole thing, their clothing wardrobe to black, wear black lipstick, you know, wear their hair, and you know, with all the whole holding phone on it and everything. It's just they change their whole outlook, and they want to look like that every day.
Wow. Now, you and I kind of discussed a little earlier today some of the things that bullying caused your parents to do. In your case, they actually moved you from the area. Is that correct?
Yes, my mom and dad moved me from Jeffersonville, Georgia, to Philadelphia, where my oldest brother and his wife raised me.
And so, in your case, one of the ways of dealing with the bullying was getting out of the environment of the school that you were attending.
Yes, that was one of the ways. But the thing is, my brother and his wife, they had a long road with me because I felt like everybody was against me. They had a lot of work to do with me, but they never stopped telling me they loved me. They never stopped disciplining me. They let me know that they loved me. Things that they seen I need, they got it for me. They gave me what I needed, not what I wanted. Only thing I got when I wanted it was on my birthday and Christmas, and that was good for me. Either way, I didn't understand it, but hey, that was good for me because I never experienced it with my parents, So that was a blessing all at once for me, and they never just let up on me. They always tell me, we love you. Why we doing this? Because we love you. And we want you to get over we want you one day, we want you to sit down and come talk to us about what you have experienced in school.
So
and I got a chance to do that when I turned 16. So
during the time when you were bullied, a lot of that you never expressed to your parents per se. Did they question what was going on with you? Had your behavior changed as far as how you were interacting with your family?
They, my mom and dad, by them being up in age, they would say something to me, but they didn't ask the question that we ask today. Okay. Like what my brother and his wife asked me, sit down and talk to me. Tell me what happened. Tell me what happened to you in school. Tell me what happened when you came home and, your clothes was cut off. Your clothes was cut up and everything. And tell me what happened. And that's what I did. I told them what happened. And they listened, and they basically hugged me and told me that we love you and this will not happen to you here. We're going to protect you. Not saying my mom and dad didn't protect me. It's just I kept a lot of things in. I never told them what was going on and stuff. They would see the bruises and stuff. They want to know what happened. I would tell them that this person did this to me and that person done that to me and all of that. And, the parents, my mom and dad take me with them. So that's how they fixed it. At least they thought they fixed it, but it was never fixed.
Wow. So bullying does affect individuals differently. I know sometimes it becomes a very extreme type situation where some kids have actually taken their lives and, committed suicide and those types of things. Did any of those thoughts ever cross your mind when you were experiencing what you were experiencing?
Yes, many times. I would tell my mom, I just wish I could die and not. I don't want to go to school. I hate school. I wish it would burn down. That's what I used to say as a child because I hated it. I would try to make myself think good, and it just, once I'm thinking good, thinking in my head, oh, it's gonna be all right. Everybody's gonna treat me, not call me all these names and all of this, and get to school is worse, and it's just a lot.
Wow.
I dealt with a lot, but I have to say that when you deal with Well, I can only speak for myself. When I dealt with stuff like that, I basically was so vulnerable. That's how I got into that marriage and got, abused.
Wow.
Because I never knew love didn't hurt.
Wow.
I never knew that. And now I tell everybody I grew up at 45, even though I'm 55, but hey, I grew up at 45. My dad sat me down after I left my husband and told me, hey, you are what you accept in your life. You accepted it. He didn't make you stay. You stayed on your own, and he didn't, you didn't make him stay. He said, but you need to learn from your mistakes. Once you learn from your mistakes and basically keep everybody out of your face and get yourself together, because if not, you're going to miss out what the good Lord has for you. So
wow.
I had to learn that at age 45, let all that stuff go and just do what I got to do for me and for my healing.
Wow. Well, we certainly thank you for sharing with us today the effects of bullying. And I'm hoping our listeners will take heed to a lot of the thoughts that you shared, signs and ways of detecting that with their children, because we know a lot of kids are returning back into the school system, even though it's during COVID. And there probably will be some bullying that takes place. And also, we want to make sure that the parents have their eyes open for some of the things they could experience. So thank you for
one more thing.
Yes, go ahead.
Can I say one more thing? One thing I would like to say to the parents: your babies are your angels. Your babies are your angels. Do whatever you have to do to protect your children. They are your angels. God bless you with them. They are your angels, and they look up to you to protect them. And if they're not talking, please don't talk to them. Let them know you love them, because most kids, once they know that you got their back and you love them, they're gonna start telling you little bits and pieces. Don't think you're gonna get it all out at once. It's gonna take time. They just need that security and to know that you love them, and they need to feel it and to receive what you got for them.
Absolutely. And we're going to try to get you back as well a little later in the month to kind of continue that on the level of the abuse side, because I'm sure with quarantining going on and with COVID-19 and people being in close quarters with each other, there's a lot of domestic abuse that takes place. And we certainly want.
Oh, yes, most definitely.
And we definitely want to, give you a chance to discuss that with us. And so once again, thank you for joining us. I see President Westbrooks has joined us here at the station. And so we thank you for coming on. And if she has anything, do you have anything you want to add?
Just basically.
You talking to me?
Yeah, that's President Westbrooks. She's.
Okay.
Hello. I was listening to some of your, got a chance to listen to some of your conversation, and just like President Dumas said, that people bullying has affected people in different ways, and we basically have to, we've had, the NAACP has had complaints in the past, especially when kids were in school dealing with bullying. Basically, I had to kind of intervene with that and making sure that kids were protected, because parents felt that the school system was not protecting the children from bullying. So that's something that we have to pay attention and listen to our kids, because like you said, a lot of times kids don't say anything in fear. Sometimes that parents, they feel that parents will say something and they don't say anything. So we just have to pay close attention to their changes in the way they act and their behavior, because
that's a lot of times there are signs. But we thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, and we look forward to bringing you back on. Have a great evening.
All right, thank you.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome. Okay, and so we're back on, and President Westbrooks has joined us, and we're going to discuss this bill, voting bill that was signed on Friday, and some of the things that took place. I understand one of the representatives, I believe, was actually incarcerated or locked up for arrested.
Yes. There's been several videos sent out. Several videos that have been sent out showing this arrest, and there's much conversation. I don't know. Attorney Griggs is representing her. He was the former NAACP criminal justice chair for the NAACP. But yes, that was it was. I just had a concern with it because when you look at the difference in the way with the Capitol, the people that invaded the Capitol, and the way they were treated and the way she was treated, it just tells us that we have a very long way to go.
Absolutely.
That we have a very long way to go, and I just couldn't quite I couldn't understand, Mr. Dumas, is why certain people were allowed to be able to participate in the signing,
and others weren't,
and others wasn't. Whether whether you supported the bill or not, if you wanted to be there doing the signing, then you should have been able to. So maybe they'll give some type of explanation to that at some point, to determine what was the decision, where she wasn't allowed to be able to participate in the signing, and we know you had the sheriff outside the door, I guess protecting where no one would be able to come in. But like I said, we just have a long way to go. It's just basically different in the way African Americans are being treated. And so we just have to, she has an attorney, and hopefully they'll get this thrown out, because that she's facing actually felony charges, and this is basically is ridiculous. So
absolutely,
I know there was a statement was made or something regarding her kicking, stumping an officer's foot. So we don't know. I didn't see that in the video, but like I say, you don't know what happened behind closed doors. So I just can't imagine that she would do that intentionally if that did happen. But that wasn't the reason why she was removed. So that wasn't the reason why she was arrested. She was arrested because she continued to knock on the door to be able to participate in the signing and see the signing. So hopefully they'll get that straight in. But like I say, it's
so many shenanigans and different little things happening.
Yes.
Here in the state of Georgia, there are some, I guess, repercussions to being a blue state, turning from red to blue.
Yeah, our eyes is on Georgia. Because Mr. Dumas, the bill itself is they say is to the bill is to to be able to present to the people that that the voting the as far as fair voting, but on the fair voting process, but there were no, after 3 counts, there was no
discrepancies
as far as fraud in people voting. That the problem is that, well, it's not a problem, but the Black people and people of color, we just got out and voted. And so this is what happens. People in power fear
losing that power.
Right. And when people, we just came together as one, and we voted. And so people fear that, especially when they're in power and they lose and they feel their power is in jeopardy. And so this is basically is what's happened. But I really feel that when people wake up and really see what's going on, because you still got some people saying they don't vote. They're not into politics, but it's not about politics. It's about your fundamental right to be able to vote. It hasn't, it's not, you're voting because, politics are involved, but that's not why. That's not the sole purpose of it. It's for you. That's your fundamental right to vote. And people are trying to take that away and trying to take the process away, because we're looking at, for the fact, they were doing signature matches with absentee ballots, but with this new law, you will have to have a copy of your ID in order to be able to present absentee ballots now.
Wow.
So you look at the fact that how is that going to affect the people of color? How is that going to affect people being able to vote by absentee ballots if they don't have ID? So I know we was on the call last night. We had a special call. The NAACP had a special call meeting last night, and it was mentioned that they were saying that they're supposed to be providing, I think the state at some point was supposed to be providing everyone free identifications, but we don't know how that's going to work out, and we're not going to wait on that. The NAACP is going to go ahead. I know the Macon branch is going to go ahead on and start preparing for that, because we especially need to target. We're going to be setting up stations and doing using the portable printers, and we're going to be setting up dates where we'll be doing that, and people won't even have to get out their cars. But we got to focus on our elderly, because a lot of times a lot of our elder people don't drive, or they might not even have ID. So we're going to make sure that we get those. We got to look at the fact that people that don't have IDs, helping those people get IDs, because we can't wait on the state if they decide to do that. We can't wait on that.
And also, I noticed one of the provisions, which was kind of interesting to me, they had a provision about giving out food and water.
Yeah, as a misdemeanor. Yeah, and that's, and most of the time, when the NAACP, when we set it up, most people, I can't recall that anybody got water before they voted, but it was after they voted that they came by and got. But the purpose of that is because there were, it was so many people voting, long lines, and you have people that have medical conditions, and a lot of times people don't think about that when they come to vote. They don't think about that they're going to be in line a long time. So that was the purpose of that, not to sway anybody's vote. So, but the thing about it is that the same very party that that's changing this new law, or basically to suppress our vote, is not just saying that it's not, but it is. They're the one that came up with this absentee ballot and all of this. So now, because it didn't work for a certain party, now something is wrong with it now, because it didn't work, because Georgia turned blue and it didn't. So now it's a problem with the way the bill is written. So now they're rewriting it to benefit that particular party. So another thing that's very important also is the fact that the government is going to be taking over the election. The Secretary of State will not be the one in control over the elections. It'll be taken over, and we don't know who that will be. Who will be taking over? That's one of the very very critical part in this new bill. The fact that the Secretary of State will not be overseeing the election. The government will actually be taking over that. So hopefully, with the H1. The People's Act, John Lewis People Act, on the federal level, hopefully we can get that passed, and it'll actually supersede whatever the states are doing, because they're starting with Georgia, but it's other states that are trying to adopt this same law, and it's basically to suppress the votes. And also with the early voting, it's going to be different from city to city is not going to be the same. And they're basically, for example, like Fulton County and those counties up there that's predominantly Democratic city. Those cities are being limited with lesser time for right
them to get out.
Right.
I think Saturdays, Sundays will definitely be probably cut out.
And so they're limiting the time for each city. Well, basically, like I say, cities that normally vote Democratic, those cities are being targeted. So those are something I know that the NAACP, along with others, the Georgia State Conference, NAACP, along with others, have actually filed a lawsuit. The lawsuit was filed yesterday, Sunday, and I'm not exactly sure as far as what the lawsuit consists of, but I do know that a lawsuit has been filed on behalf after this bill was actually signed into law.
And also, in regards to that, there's a lot of things circulating on social media as well as text messages stating that because of the signing of the bill, that people should boycott certain places. And I believe that the Fair Fight organization has gone against doing that, holding a boycott, because they were stating that they are going to fight, but they're going to fight it in a legal way, through a legal battle, as opposed to possibly, harming those who may possibly be out of work, particularly during the pandemic. A lot of people have just gone back to work, and to do a boycott would certainly hurt a lot of their livelihoods. And so they were kind of speaking against that.
Yeah, I know that I got something that was sent to me, and I'm just basically reading what it says. It says, this is from Stacey Abrams. It says, I appreciate the calls for action, but I ask all of our entertainment industry friends to support Fair Fight, but please do not boycott Georgia. The hardworking Georgians who serve on crew and make a living here are not to blame. I promise I will fight and we will win. So a lot of, basically, I just got something recently here today where Delta Airlines made a internal statement supporting the bill that was passed. And like I say, that statement coming from Ms. Stacey Abrams is very powerful, but people, we don't know whether or not that statement is gonna take, it's gonna help. We don't know, because people are really upset about the way this has panned out, for the simple fact we did what we're supposed to do. We got out and we voted. Absolutely. And we showed out in record numbers. And then because we did that, now, basically what they're saying is too many of you all got out and voted. So we got to do something so that won't happen again. And I really hope that people see what's happening. And I just really think that, this movement is gone way beyond what people expected it's going to be. I think, you got a lot of young people that have basically joined this movement. Normally it's a lot of our older people, my age or older, or your age and older, but you got a lot of young people who are pushing this movement for, to make sure that people get out and vote. And we're going to be doing mass voter registrations throughout, because we do have an upcoming election coming up in 2022, but we just want to make sure that we get people registered to vote, make sure we get people out to vote, because this is a very critical, we are, we don't want to go back.
Absolutely not.
So this is actually just a slap in the face to the Voters' Right Act of 1965.
And a part of it too is the fact that people who voted for the first time had gotten the technique of the process down, and now, come next election, they've got to switch that up. So it puts a lot of uncertainty for first time voters as to how they should do the process. And so that was a tactic really to kind of, throw people off. They're just getting, the kind of the feel for what they need to do and how they should do it. And then they add something or take something away. It kind of throws people off.
Yeah, but we got to basically, when you see what's going on, it just basically validates why more than ever now that the fight for equality and fight for our vote for the voting's right protection is so important right now. When the case in Shelby versus Holder, the case that actually that was ruled on in favor of Holder to actually move the protection that cities or states, to move the protection that states had that discriminatory practices was held. That protection was actually moved. So and ever since that protection has been moved, we have seen the rise of voter suppression throughout the states, especially the southern states, where the protection that we had, the protection. So that's been moved, and basically what they were saying was that the law was outdated because there were more Black people voting, so we didn't need the protection because they saw more of us voting. But you see what's happening now, the fact that the more we vote, the more is done to try to suppress our vote. So, another thing that we got to deal with is this gerrymandering, which is so crucial, where, you basically, they draw the lines in certain places where they want certain people to win. So we just got to hopefully, and I was reading up on that because with this H1 People Acts that will be in that package, in that bill with the H1 People's Act with the gerrymandering, because that's very crucial. That actually happened here in Bibb County. You got certain commissioners that cover certain areas, and I can't figure out how. For example, you got you had during the time you had Rabbi Schlesinger and Commissioner Elaine Lucas is in East Macon, but and then Rabbi Schlesinger was in he had the Peach Orchard right there off of Broadway, and then Commissioner Lucas had Southgate. So she actually skipped over. In order for you to get to Southgate, you had to go through the Peach Orchard area, cross over. So that's what gerrymandering is, when you fix the lines for it to benefit certain candidates in order for them to win. So hopefully, like I say, we just gotta make sure that we just pray and hope that the people in Congress and the people at the Capitol they do the right thing, because this is very serious, and this is something that we've been fighting for. We talked about only white men were able to vote, and then in the 1920s white females were able to vote, and still people of color were not able to vote until 1965, and then even after that we had to continue to fight with our voting rights was had to continuously be taken into court in order for us to continue to be able to vote. And so this is just something that we like I said, I posted something, and like I said, that we're a strong, our strength. When you back us against the wall, You'll see the strength. That's where we're at our best. When you back us up, against the wall, we're at our best. And so we're used to dealing with being under pressure. And so we're gonna fight this with everything that we have. We're gonna fight against this because we do have to make sure that we protect the right to vote, which is sacred.
And then another part of it, we can't always wait to election to voice our concerns. We got to hold these state representatives and those people, those that represent us, got to hold them accountable as to how they vote, and a lot of times they get a free pass. And when you look at their voting record and you go back and look, you see that they haven't really voted the way that represents your best interest. And so we got to hold them accountable as well.
And yes, and another thing too, Mr. Dumas, we gotta, you got some commissioners that does this even here in Bibb County, but a lot of our commissioners don't, and I just feel as a state representative, or if I was in that position, I would be having quarterly meetings with my constituency on the community to keep them abreast and keep them informed and informative about what's going on, the bills that are being introduced, that are being presented, that are being passed or are not passed, or so we'll know exactly what's going on. So, but a lot of times we don't. But
right.
We just gotta just keep the community abreast of what's going on, because, like I say, this right now, I don't know. Basically, I haven't heard any type of statement released from our state representative.
Right, and they have to represent the people. That's why they were elected, to represent the people's agenda and what they want done. And I think a lot of times that gets kind of twisted a little bit. We end up getting whatever they decide to vote on, and it may not be in our best interest. And so we got to hold them accountable for that.
Yeah, we do. And like I said, right now, I know Senator Lucas has been very vocal about this Senate Bill 202. He's been very vocal about it. Just haven't heard anything from our state representatives. So, like you said, we just got to hold people accountable for their actions, and because they were voted by the people to represent us. And if it wasn't for Senator Lucas, I don't know what we have known
that bill was even
right
going forth.
We wouldn't even have known. So yeah, we gotta hold people accountable. But I want to kind of you and I had talked earlier about the trial,
right,
that's going on, and you had mentioned, you kind of want to elaborate on that a little bit, Mr. Dumas?
Yes, because the trial didn't start today, and the prosecution had brought forth the film that most of us saw about a year ago when Mr. Floyd was held down, knee on the neck for a substantial amount of time. And when they showed that particular video, it just takes you back to that moment when that happened, and all of the pleading that the bystanders were giving to the officer to let the knee up off of the guy so he could breathe. The prosecution even showed how Mr. Floyd would raise his shoulder, I believe it was his right shoulder, to try to breathe, because in the position that they had him, he was handcuffed already. And so the cement was underneath him, and then his knee was against him. So he's having to pull that force back just to take a breath, and he elaborated on that in such a way that it was almost chilling to hear how he described how Mr. Floyd was just gasping to try to get a breath each time out of those minutes that he was, pressing against him. And then the person who was recording, of course, was just pleading with desperation for the officer to, just let him up. They had him subdued, and it was something hard to watch, even, from the standpoint of seeing it many times play out in the media.
Right.
But
yeah, I when I first saw it, it got next to me, and you have somebody basically pleading
for their lives.
For their lives, and it was he was already handcuffed. It was no reason,
right?
No excuse for it. And then we just gotta, we do have some instances here in Bibb County. Sheriff Davis kind of puts he got a low tolerance for that kind of those types of behaviors. He'll fire you in a minute for that type of stuff. But we do have, incidents in Bibb County. We do get reports from people, not to that extent, but some things that people feel that are shouldn't have happened. And so we always like to address, get both sides, and we do investigate those incidents. But for some reason, it was just talking about how even when they did protests, a lot of the white people would be in the front because they knew that they would not be treated the way that Black people would be treated if they were in the very front, in the forefront. Exactly. And I was reading something this weekend where I can't think of the guy's name. He's one of the lead stars in is it Power?
The Power episode that plays.
Is it called Power?
Yes, it's 50 Cent is the producer, I believe, of that particular program.
Right. Yeah, that's what it is. I thought that's what the name of it was. But the guy that's on there now that's playing as the son,
mm-hmm.
He was stopped by the police this weekend, and he was saying that he really believed that because he had his camera on, it saved his life, because you could see that. I was watching the video and it was showing, well, the entire time the officer was talking to him, he had his hand on you can see he had his hand on his
weapon
ready to shoot. And he was saying that he really believed that him having a camera in his, him having that in his car saved his life.
Because there have been several cases where these officers have cameras on them, and a lot of times they actually turn their cameras off.
Yeah.
And in a case where that comes to trial, of course, that would be questioned as to why would an officer turn their camera off if they had good intentions and were going by the law, the correct way. And so thank God for video cameras, for cell phones, because even in that Floyd case, had there not been people who were filming this, that case would be, could easily been proven, another way, or they wouldn't have substantial evidence,
right,
to have first of all, have the officer fired or, suspended from work. And so these devices are, a matter of life and death to most individuals now who may be stopped.
Well, in some states, they was trying to stop people from being able to video, but if we didn't have that, a lot of cases would not be proven, because, like you say, a lot of times officers remove those intentionally. So
right.
We just gotta. I'm just so thankful that people do, like John Lewis said, if you see something, say something. And I'm so glad that people are videoing. And if you do see something, you need to say something.
Right, because it was interesting to me that they would would have an officer to have a camera that can be turned on or off. I mean, that's really, if a person wants to do something that's kind of under the law, all they got to do is turn it off. And so it should be a type of camera where as long as you're on duty, that camera is on.
But I'm just trying to understand. It's gotten to the point now where people, when it comes to us, your guns have to be actually drawn. I was looking at a movie last weekend. I rented it, and I can't think of the name of it, but it was dealing with a guy and his son was traveling together, and the police stopped them, and his son ended up getting. He asked him to get out the car because his son started filming it. Officer asked him to get out the car, and his son ended up getting shot and killed. But it was a real good movie. It's dealing with basically what we're dealing with right now. It was a very good movie. I can't think of the name of it, but I think Spike Lee is the one that is the producer in that movie. But he ended up taking the police chief and hostage and different things like that. But he actually had the trial of the officer there, and nobody got hurt or anything. But he actually had he got killed at the end. But he basically had a trial. Some of the prisoners and some of the people that worked there, he had a trial there, and it was a lot of things that came out. And the officer basically, just cried. He said he didn't mean to kill his son, and he wanted to build a better relationship with him and the community. Because he basically said he stereotyped them. He basically saw that they was in a community that they didn't look like they should have been in, and that's why he basically stopped them. But it was a very good movie, and I think people need to look at it to kind of understand both sides of it. It was a very good movie.
Yeah, because we're still sifting through a lot of these cases, these major cases that made headlines all last year. The Aubrey case,
right?
The George Floyd case, the Breonna Taylor case. All these cases that are high profile, and out of all of these so far, you haven't really seen a lot of justice play out, and
no.
we're hoping to
see. We did get the citizen arrest that law that was put in. People can't just arrest someone, just come up and arrest. I don't think that should have never been a law anyway. That somebody a citizen can just arrest another citizen, because we see what happened with Ahmaud Arbery.
Exactly.
They just basically brutally killed this young man. He lost his life for no reason. And in seeing the video, you could see that other people had actually been to that same place, that same home, and looked at it and went inside it that day, and they were not even, nothing happened.
Right.
So people, when it comes to people of color, that's an issue. We can do the same thing and nothing is done. And that's through just about everything: employment, our judicial system, just about in everything. There's a comparison, and so we just got to stay on top of it. We just got to fight for what's right.
Absolutely. Well, I think our time is about up, and so we certainly want to thank all of you for joining in on and being with us this evening. And hopefully you'll join us on next Monday, and have a safe and happy Easter weekend and a good Friday as well.
And stay safe, everyone. Please stay safe.
Absolutely. We're still dealing with COVID. Have a good evening.